Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Monday, September 29th, 2025. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. Folks, do you know that today is Urban National Wildlife Refuge Day? And I asked my co-host if she planned on celebrating this, and she said she has absolutely no intention to fly to Toronto, go to Liberty Village, and become prey for coyotes. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is the sensational Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing there, Sheila?
Is it really that day? I'm trying to see. It's National Goose Day, which is like the most urban wildlife that I know about. There's invasive coyotes and rats. You guys have rats in Toronto, right?
I have a rat in my garage. Nothing works. We found out it was a rat, Sheila, because he carried away the mouse traps with the cheese in it. And the rat traps are impossible to set. I had one go off in my lap. Let's put it this way. If I had been wearing my kilt that day, I'd be speaking in a soprano right now. So I think the only solution is to move to Alberta. You're a rat-free province, right?
Yeah, we have rat patrol and everything. I was reading just before I came on air. It's funny that you mentioned that it's like Urban Wildlife Day. I see that Vancouver has said that they have a problem with the creature called the nutria. And I didn't even know they had them there. Do you know what a nutria is?
No.
Okay, so we don't have rats in Alberta, but we have muskrats, which are this like aquatic rodent that looks like a small beaver, but it's got a small scaly tail. One time I had to lay on my stomach and shoot one that was underneath the vehicle because it scared my dog. And so they live in swamps and sloughs and stuff like that. But generally, you know, they're more dangerous to the ducks than anything. And they're gross more than anything. But nutrias are like this. They're like a muskrat that's the size of a large beaver. And they're very destructive. So muskrats have like a small scaly rat tail. They're so gross to look at. But nutrias have like this round, gross. It's like a beaver with a round tail, but they're super destructive to like riverbanks and wow, canals and stuff. And yeah, they have a problem with those in Vancouver. Maybe they'll let some aggressive hunters come in and clean them up. Well, or, you know, this is BC, actually. They'll hire some Australian hunters to fly over and do it using guns that we're not allowed to use.
That's amazing. Well, when you and Drea are off the ostrich file, there's your next British Columbian.
I want to see one. They're like they're very problematic in places like Louisiana because they need warm. They don't overwinter the way a muskrat does. Like muskrats have like tunnels under the ice, and they have lodges like a beaver, right? And so they can be up to beaver size, and they're very gross. Anyway.
Well, you know what?
Anyway.
Muskrats I do know about, only for one reason, the Captain and Tennille song, Muskrat Love. And, you know, when I'm, feeling a little amorous, that's what I start singing to Lady Menzoid, which has the opposite effect.
Oh, I'm sure it makes her want to chew her arm off so she can get away from you, much like a muskrat. Okay, let's tell everybody what we're doing here today. It's super busy. It's my Monday definitely has a case of the Mondays, and it's already piling up on me. But I'm so glad to have the band back together, David Menzies, on this Monday. If you're watching us on Rumble, thank you so much for supporting a really great free speech platform. If you'd like to support the work that we do over there, but also have your say in the show, might I suggest something called a Rumble Rant? That's your paid chat. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, it's obligatory that we read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to get to it, time permitting, but my time is real tight today. But as I said, we'll do our best. And if you are watching us on YouTube, their paid chat is called a super chat. Same rules apply, but there's also an additional way for you to help us. If you are moved by the Spirit after the fact and you're like, oh God, great job, Sheila David, let me help them out, you can leave a paid comment called the Super Thanks. And we do all the work that we do here. In 10 years of Rebel News, thanks to your support, we don't take a penny from the government. And how could we ever maintain our independence if we did. We are independent, and it sure shows. All right, let's get into over the weekend. David, I'll let you cue this up, but
Sure.
it was at a protest where you're supposed to protest these things because they are government policies that are being protested at Queen's Park, which is the Ontario legislature in Toronto. Let Kids Be Kids was the name of the protest, and sure as hell, the weirdos just won't let kids be kids and let parents be concerned. Our friend April Hutchison was speaking at this event. You know, she's an advocate for fairness in women's sport and leaving little girls to achieve their things without having boys and men invade their spaces. And things went sideways. Davis, tell us about that. David,
Yes,
tell us about this.
it was a rally, Sheila, that April was involved with many other esteemed speakers. And it was for Let Kids Be was the name of the rally. And, it was for the shocking concept of, you know what, do you really think puberty blockers and slicing and dicing the genitalia of children is a good thing? Of course it's not. But yeah, Sheila, the radical transgender community with their Antifa allies came out. Now, usually what's very significant here, Sheila, is the Hamas holes never miss a protest they don't want to join in on, but they were AWOL. Why would that be? Well, maybe the guy wearing the Queers for a Free Palestine t-shirt should get the memo there. It's because they hate the queers almost as much as they hate the Jews. So they were absent without a leave. And we wanted to talk to these demonstrators. I wanted to see why they think sex change operation for minors is a good thing. And to tell you what they're all about, folks, when I asked the question, do you denounce the assassination of Charlie Kirk? All of them en masse, on cue, laughed out loud. That is what kind of violent mental cases these radical trans people are. And here's the deal. Well, I think we're going to throw to a video. Guess who made a guest appearance vis-a-vis law enforcement? And before I get into that, we back the blue here at Rebel. I even back the blue, even getting arrested 5 times last year for false charges. Without the police, we have anarchy, we have the law of the jungle. But you know what? Just like there are bad lawyers, bad doctors, bad engineers, and even bad journalists, there are bad cops. And the worst of the worst on the force right now in Toronto is Sergeant Joseph's, or is it Joseph Adams? You see, I can't get his real name right because I only know him about his infamous nickname, Officer Bubbles. That was because going back to 2010, I believe, he actually arrested this little 95-pound lady for blowing bubbles. He considered that an assault. He is an anger head case. He should have been fired from the force or at least assigned to desk work. Instead, because this is Olivia Chow's Toronto, he's being promoted. I wonder why. Anyways, let's throw to Officer Bubbles, basically the master of disaster, coordinating for the Queen's Park Police to throw independent media off the grounds. Meanwhile, CBC, City News, they were fine to stay because our mere presence, folks, was triggering the radical transgenders. Check it out.
Officer, will you take all of them?
Okay. All of them?
All
Okay.
of them.
You guys gotta go back.
They're all trespass.
You've been trespassed.
This is
back.
the direction of the legislation.
Back.
They're all
Trespassed off the legislature
Nobody's
grounds.
blowing bubbles here.
See,
No
you've
one's
been
blowing
trespassed.
bubbles. That's Officer Bubbles, Lee. He's pretty infamous.
So you've been trespassed?
Officer, will you take trespass? All of them.
And by the way, Sheila, what I was trying to do at that point is that my camera woman, Avery, was physically assaulted by one of these transgenders. It was eyewitness. It was caught on video. We have physical evidence. I took a photo of the welt on her forehead. And she wanted to press charges. And those police and those Queen's Park Mall security guards wanted to take her statement, and they didn't.
Why do they keep Officer Bubbles on crowd control? He got the city of Toronto sued once. Why is this guy dealing with members of the public. He should be sitting in a cubicle somewhere. He does not have the temperament to deal with members of the public. And yet they keep him on the front line of these crowd issues. How many times does he have to get the city of Toronto sued? And it should be noted that the Antifa crazy people who came there looking for a fight, they were allowed to stay, and independent journalists were trespassed off.
Yeah, because Antifa and the radical trends and the Hamas holes are ordering the Toronto Police Service around. And you're absolutely right about Bubbles, Sheila. The last time I encountered him was, well, I remember it well because it was Remembrance Day at a Tim Hortons, and he physically assaulted me by lashing out at me. He has learned nothing from the PR disaster he created for himself and for the Toronto Police Service. And if people think, oh, you know, what are you talking about? The Toronto Police Service, is taking orders from radical transgenders. Sheila, if you can imagine, when we followed the demonstration down Yonge Street to Yonge Dundas Square, about a half hour or so passed by, and there was a Latin festival that took place. And, well, what do you know? What was part of the flotilla? The Toronto Transgender Police Cruiser. Yeah, this is it doesn't even look like a police cruiser, folks. It looks like an ice cream truck. It's painted in that garish Pride Progress motif. It's usually driven by Sergeant Robert Chevalier. He is the officer who's part of the LGBT, et cetera, liaison team. I'm not making any of this up. And basically, one of his duties is to drive this around Toronto, trying to give transgenders free rides. You know, if I'm a taxi cab driver or I'm working for Uber or Lyft, I'm really mad about that. Why do they get taxpayer-funded free transportation? But what I'm getting at, that was the police. And ironically, this happening an hour or so after the assault incident, just showing literally which side they stand on. They're on Team Tranny. They believe that these people don't have equal rights but special rights. And this city has gone to hell in a handbasket, Sheila. And I'm serious of planning my exit strategy. I don't know if there is a way to recover this, even if there is regime change in Ottawa. And speaking of which, do you think Transanity will ever end under Mark Carney's watch, given that he has a daughter currently pretending to be a son? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Imagine being assaulted by these violent trans crazy people, as has happened to many people across Canada.
Yep.
We have a real problem with this. And you show up looking for cops who are going to unbiased apply the law, right? Lady Justice is blindfolded for a reason, and they show up with the Pride Progress flag on the car, and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to be assume that I'm going to be treated fairly? And even if you are treated fairly, there's a presumption of bias that I think everybody is supposed to avoid here. We've got another clip. I think this also comes to us by way of Karima. She says, hullabaloo at Queen's Park with police trespassing independent media from the legislature at the behest of violent Antifa counter-protesters. And look, again, I support cops. I got to tell you, the cops at the ostrich farm, excellent. Tamara had an interaction over the weekend with an OPP officer who was just a delight to watch.
He's the cop of the year, Sheila, even with 3 months left to go.
You know what? He could be. I just thought he was so... Tamara's got a great story coming up about a Tim Hortons. Anyway, the Tim Hortons called the police on her, and the cop was like, what are you doing calling the police? This is not a police matter. If you don't like what's happening here, I don't care. Like, she's doing her job. He was so good. And I got to tell you, that's the way most police are. It's just the bad guys gravitate to these positions of crowd control and social justice. Let's watch this next clip from Karima.
You're leaving to that
I want to cover that rally, officer.
leaving to the curb.
Huh? This is Olivia Chow's Toronto. This is Myron Dempu's Toronto, where the police will not tolerate impolite questions. By the way, have you taken your transgender training, sir?
Okay.
That wasn't a joke, by the way, Sheila. As you know, we were leaked the transgender training module. All the police have to A, watch, and B, pass the test on. And again, to make a long story short, the message, the moral of the story is transgenders do not have equal rights, but special rights. And the police
Apparently
are
more
trained in
rights.
this garbage.
Apparently more rights than everybody else, which is something to behold. Now, at the same time, it was a very busy day that day at Rebel News. We've got Alexa. She went to a vigil, not to do anything except what I described to her, and she described back to me as from a distance wildlife photography, because this is a vigil for a 15-year-old who was shot by police. We don't know all the details about the shooting yet, but that has not stopped the far left from saying that this young man is the next BLM style uprising shooting thing. So Antifa has glommed onto this. This is the next George Floyd, according to them. So they've glommed onto this. They're ready to get violent. Alexa was just there to show what Antifa is doing, given that in the United States, Antifa was just named a terrorist organization, much the same way as they should be named here, but we're too focused on Proud Boys, who like a Catholic men's drinking club. Why don't you get the Knights of Columbus in there while you're at it? Catholic Women's League, get those old crones in there. And I say that as one of them. So anyways, she went there, and Alexa can't even be on the streets in her own city without Antifa going after her. So let's just look at what happened to her.
Fuck Rebel News! Décollez! Décollez Rebel News!
Where's the cops?
Rebel News! Décollez racistes!
Voyons, écoutez, on est calmement ici. Je ne sais pas pourquoi vous êtes tellement agressif, là.
Ouais.
Ça paraît pas bien pour votre événement. Moi, je vous inviterais à vous calmer un petit peu.
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez!
Ah, mais qu'est-ce que vous faites? Qu'est-ce que vous êtes en train de faire?
Fascistes, décollez!
Vous voyez pas, c'est de la sécurité?
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez!
Hey, mais ça va?
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes!
Mais ils sont violents! Mais ils sont violents? Non, pas du tout. Hey, on était ici, genre, puis on n'a rien fait. En silence.
Vous êtes pas bien vus! C'est des racistes!
Va-t'en! Va-t'en!
Décollez!
Hey! Une femme! T'es calme-toi! Hey, de quoi tu parles? Mais de quoi tu parles? De quoi tu parles? Mais vous êtes pas bien! Mais vous êtes pas bien! Mais vous êtes pas bien! On devrait
Little late, guys.
traverser la rue, hein.
Slightly late to the game. Cops.
well-
Alexa had 2 security guards. She could have used 4. But did you see how calm Alexa was? She's like, hey, everybody needs to calm down. Hey, you got to back off. Like, she is not part of the violence. She's not instigating the violence. She's doing her best to de-escalate the violence, because that's how we have to be. We have to be overly calm and overly respectful, even to the people who wish to do us harm, because the other side will say that we invited it.
Yeah. And you're right, Sheila. And beyond that, she was even giving them, as far as I could tell from that video, public relations advice. She said, this is not a good look for you. And she's right, because any reasonable person watching that is going to say, who are these maniacs? And, you know, as much as Toronto has descended into a proverbial shithole, it is Valhalla compared to Montreal. Where the hell were the cops? And when they are on scene, they typically do nothing. Or like what we encountered at Queen's Park, could you leave? Because, you know, your mere presence is triggering the reprobates. You know, Sheila, it's like the dark old days of sexual assault. A woman being raped and then re-victimized on the witness stand, being asked questions. How much cleavage were you shown that night, honey? How much leg were you showing? No. That's not the issue. If someone is triggered, they have to deal with it. And if they can't deal with it, they are arrested. And I don't care how many of them are. And what we learned from that is, by the way, if those two brave security guards weren't there, you know they would have swarmed Alexa and Guillaume 100%. Yeah. And next time, as you said, it'll be 4, maybe 6 security guards. And meanwhile, as the clip ends, I didn't know that the Montreal police had marching drum practice that day. It would have been good if they were actually, you know, on the scene at the time of the protest to arrest the troublemakers causing these shenanigans. But that's how they roll in Montreal. And one last point, Sheila. Alexa said on the morning meeting, the way this was covered in the French mainstream media was, thank goodness for the presence of Antifa for outing the far right-wing fascists. Can you believe it? That's your tax dollars, folks, at work.
We know the SPVM, the Montreal police, will not protect Alexa Lavoie. We've seen them just stand there while Antifa has attacked her in the past. That's why we sent them with 2 security guards. But they definitely need 4 because they need security guards behind them as they're walking backwards, because that's how that guy got his hands on Guillaume. So you can see there's like an image there where the guy is like reaching behind Guillaume's head. Guillaume's not watching. He's pointing his camera the other way. And so now we need 4 security guards just for our journalists to be able to do their jobs in Montreal. And what do we get from the mainstream media? Victim blaming and incitement. You know, when you are telling the punch a Nazi crowd that you've located some Nazis, what do you think is going to happen to Alexa and Guillaume? 2 things are happening here. You're inciting violence against them, and especially disdainful after what we saw happen to Charlie Kirk. But you're also taking the edge off the blade of the word Nazi when you use it to just describe somebody with a different viewpoint instead of one of the most despicable and evil creatures to walk the face of the earth.
100%. And Sheila, one other point I want to make to show you the utter incompetence of the Keystone cops that patrol the streets of Montreal. Last week, Alexa was able to identify the Antifa thug who threw smoke bombs at the Montreal church when Sean Foyt came by for a concert. And she called the police, and the police actually said, "What's Antifa?" And to make it even worse, folks, this was less than 48 hours after Donald Trump made worldwide front page news by declaring Antifa in the US as a terrorist organization. And this moron taking Alexa's call at police headquarters hadn't even heard, or maybe was just pretending he hadn't heard of this group called Antifa. What a disgrace.
Let's not give too much of that story away because there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys should stay tuned. But Alexa did identify, allegedly, the smoke bomber of Sean Foyt's performance at a church in Montreal. And what evolved from that has been a perfect synopsis of what's happening in Montreal writ large, and it confirms my political biases about Montreal, but also the federal government simultaneously. So anyways, we're working on that story. It's a big, huge story. We've got a lot of people to reach out to give them sufficient time to ignore our inquiries. But stay tuned, because that story, you won't believe it. You just won't believe it, but also you will believe it, because the more I was surprised, the more I was like, wait, no, Sheila, This is exactly what you think about the feds. Let's hit a couple more things before we hit an ad break. Frances Widdowson. I don't know if you guys are following who and what Frances Widdowson is, but she is actually a lady of the left. I'll have you know. She is a university professor that was based here in Alberta, Mount Royal, in fact. They call her a controversial speaker if you go to CTV News. Basically, she's canceled for not being a residential school denier. She's, as I said in our meeting, a residential school nuancer. She's like, there's more to the story than just there was a mass genocide at this place. We don't need to dig up the bodies. And it was universally terrible. She doesn't believe that it is a black and white issue on all things. And also, it demands academic inquiry, discussion, and proof. So that's sort of why she got canceled. And she also has this thing that she does where she goes on university campuses and she says, okay, transgenderism, agree or disagree, or men and women's sports, agree or disagree. And then you just go stand on a spot where you either agree or disagree, like a spot that indicates agree or disagree. And then she asks you why. And so she makes you think about your own ideas and why you hold your opinions. And she doesn't even challenge them. She just basically says why. And
kind of like Charlie Kirk, eh, Sheila?
Yeah, but not even like Charlie Kirk even engaged in debate. She doesn't even do a lot of that. She just asks you why you think these things. And our team in Calgary actually went out to cover one of these. I forget what she calls them. But anyways, it's basically where she comes on campus and has this little, it's not even a demonstration, it's a thought exercise. And even the students who disagreed with her were like, yeah, she has the right to be here. I don't agree with her, but what are you going to do? You know, Alberta kids, right? Even our lefties are a little bit more reasonable than the rest of the world. But it's the academics. It's her colleagues in academia who are like, how dare she? She has to be the woman is tiny. She's like 80 pounds. Tiny little lady. And so anyways, she went to the University of Manitoba. And she went to have a discussion on her claims the discovery of mass graves at a former Kamloops residential school was a hoax. And because there has been no discovery of a single grave, not even a bone, actually. And so, anyway, of course, it just got wild there. And I should tell you, she knew she was going into the belly of the beast when she went to Manitoba, because she actually just won the George Jonas Freedom Award at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms banquet. And in her speech, she said, I'm going to the University of Manitoba, and it ain't going to be pretty, because this is sort of the percolating petri dish where this idea of a residential school denialism, which is anything but the accepted narrative, should be criminalized. And one of the leaders behind that is an MLA called Nahani Fontaine, who is of Aboriginal descent. And anyway, so Frances knew it wasn't going to be pretty, but brave little lady, she went anyway. And so this is some of her footage from what transpired at one of these institutions of higher learning where the free and liberal exchange of ideas is supposed to be taking place. Not anymore.
They put a fence around the area. They acted like they were going to
because of you guys. Because of you,
and then they haven't done anything.
That's why.
And I tried to set off the entire thing that we don't live there. We've never been there. And if we can get to the truth about Kamloops, no, I'm going to talk about it here.
Then
I'll
talk about it.
We're doing the homework. I'll talk to me at the University of Winnipeg. We'll talk about Kamloops if I want.
If you're teaching at the University of Winnipeg, support you was fired from that's why you're taking on the University of Winnipeg. That's why you're at the University of Manitoba also. Fire!
But in terms of the apple orchard, you know that the only way we can determine if there's children buried in counties is by doing that.
So what is the point of it though?
So we need to find out. We need a truth.
What is it for you?
You know, Sheila, if I may, you earlier alluded to that on campus there should be the free exchange of opinions and ideas and debate and discussion. And I'll tell you, when I went to Ryerson in the early 80s, it's not called Ryerson anymore, folks. It's now Toronto Metropolitan University, TMU. Sounds like a subway station. Anyway, and that's due to cancel culture. You know, Sheila, you could get debates going on the most contentious issues: abortion, gun control, capital punishment. And after the debate was done, you know what? Both sides would go to the pub, the student pub, and share a beer. That's how civil it was. Now this lady can't even get to the stage. She's being
like they're banging things in her face.
I know. Look at that pig blocking her and just yelling. And, you know, that's borderline assault, by the way. When you get into somebody's face that close, it can be classified as assault. So forget about having a controversial discussion. Now the plan is you get canceled, much like Ryerson University was canceled. There is no discussion, no debate, no discourse. And if you have a contrarian view, you might pay a price in terms of violence, including, as we saw with Charlie Kirk, lethal force. That is where we are on campus right now. And these campuses all across North America and in Europe, it is the Marxists and the Islamists.
Look at it from their side.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy. When you see Francis from their side, it's like, what is wrong with you people? Yep. She's just standing there while you scream at her and berate her. And I wrote down some of the things that she was saying. They're saying, why did you come here? And she goes, I could talk about it here if I want.
Yeah.
And then they said, why, what do you think? I think they said, what do you think happened at Kamloops? And she said, I don't know, but I have a right to ask. Like, it's just, like, she's just being like, hey, maybe what we're being told is not exactly true, and why can't we talk about these things? The one lady said, well, go to Kamloops if you have questions about Kamloops. And she says, why can't I talk about it here? You know what it reminds me of, Sheila? We're going back 9 years ago. Remember when I went down to Texas for that Draw Muhammad contest? And the winning cartoon, which got the $10,000 US prize, it is Muhammad with a sword charging at the artist who hasn't completed the drawing yet. And the voice caption from Muhammad is, why are you drawing me? And the voice bubble from the cartoonist off panel is, because you're telling me not to, right? So just the idea that we don't want you here, why do you come here? No, I have every right to be here. I have every right to say my piece here. It's not your private property. I'm not in your living room. These folks probably don't believe in private property, but that's besides the point. So that was shameful. And I would argue this, Sheila, I want your opinion on this. I think maybe the hate was amped up on her because, as you said, she's from the left. So they consider her to be a traitor. Yeah, she's from the left and she's from academia. From what I understand, she's like a economic leftist. Whatever, that, I mean, she's not going to use force to shut me up to argue against those bad ideas. And, you know, she's open to debate on those. That's all anybody ever wanted. Yep. We don't have to all think the same. But this is what they're doing to her again. Just weeks after Charlie Kirk gets assassinated on campus, this is what little tiny Frances Widdowson is exposed to. And yet these people would probably call themselves feminists, screaming down this little tiny lady who is at the top of her career and had it snatched away from her in 2020 for just asking questions. And Sheila, one last point before we break to an ad read. If people out there think the Charlie Kirk assassination was a watershed point, that the left
would tone down its rhetoric, would course correct itself, would realize that an assassination is so far beyond the line that it defies description. When we finish the edit of that transgender nonsense that I covered on Saturday at Queen's Park, I interviewed a couple of them while they were marching along College Street, and they admitted to me on camera that if a person has a point of view, a political viewpoint that they disagree with, it is perfectly fine to use violence as a rebuttal. So nothing has changed. Nothing.
Well, in Alberta, we remain better than the rest of this country. Our advanced education minister just got a new mandate letter. And protecting academic freedom and freedom of expression on Alberta's post-secondary campuses is one of the new priorities identified by Premier Daniel Smith in a mandate letter to the Minister of Advanced Education Minister this week. So Miles McDougall is our new Advanced Education Minister. He's charged with assessing the need for legislation that addresses free speech and academic freedom. And then besides that, there's a bunch of other stuff about speeding up credentials so that, if we get a doctor from South Africa, he shouldn't have to go through medical school again to become qualified to work here. He told CBC in an interview that probably rattled CBC that freedom of speech and free inquiry at post-secondary institutions is an important issue to many in the province, and that he's been hearing concerns about whether Alberta's universities have changed for the worse. I hear it from students, I hear it from faculty members, I hear it from other people in the general population and businesses. I don't think I need to prove that it's not an issue for many people. I think it's clear and obvious. And he spoke about the recent killing of American conservative commentator Charlie Kirk at a university campus in Utah. So again, you might Sheila, be moving to Florida, but I'm going to stay right here.
As much as I agree with Mr. McDougall, here's the fatal flaw. Most normal people, of course, those on the right, conservatives, we adore free speech. But that phrase, free speech, that is a non-starter now when it comes to the radical left. Yeah. They equate free speech as hate speech if you say something offensive about one of their sacred cows. So they don't even like the concept of free speech. They do not support free speech.
Right. They don't. But their ability to shut down free speech should be taken away from them.
I agree.
That's I think where this needs to be. And I must tell you, on the hopeful side, at Francis Widowson's speech at the Justice Center, it was the day after our Calgary birthday party at the Justice Center banquet. A whole ton of her former colleagues from Mount Royal were there to support her, like a ton. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Good for them. But they are basically saying we're being shouted down by crazy people on the faculty. But they were allowed an obnoxious, I wouldn't say minority, I would say it's probably a 50-50 split. But they have all the power right now. And I think these universities should have their funding pulled if they violate the civil rights of their faculty and students.
And Sheila, again, to show you how much things have changed, when I went to the Ryerson School of Journalism from 81 to 84, no bones about it. The vast majority of professors at Ryerson were left-leaning, 100%.
They always were, yeah.
But
no surprise.
They would never stand for this garbage. Those who have passed away are rolling in their graves. There was more of a moderate viewpoint. There was more of an ability to discuss and debate things. But like I said, increasingly on campus, you have two factions calling the shots. It's the Marxists and the Islamists. And to them, free speech is a cancer.
Yes. Yep, completely. Hey, do we want to hit an ad break and then we'll come back with a message from our friends at the Wellness Company and then get into what's left on the day because we're quickly running out of time here. Okay, let's hit the ad break and we'll be right back.
By providing access to job training and support, Work First Alberta helps job seekers change their story.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
A fun photo booth with keepsakes and a full-on celebration of free speech, independent media, and the community that made it all possible.
Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing fantastic.
Keep at it. You guys have made change as far as I can see. Happy birthday, Rebel News. Let's keep going.
Keep up the good work and keep fighting for freedom. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
We'll also be holding a silent auction, including private lunches with yours truly, Ezra and Alexa. This isn't just a party, it's a celebration of what we built together. 10 years of telling the other side of the story and standing up for freedom. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at happybirthdayrebel.com before early bird pricing ends at midnight on Friday, October the 3rd. And if you want the ultimate Rebel experience, get a VIP ticket. That includes dinner with Rebel journalists before the party. Space is limited, so secure your spot right now. Hello! We'll see you there, Toronto. And you know, Sheila, two quick things about the birthday bash. First of all, I have never seen you looking more beautiful than at that Calgary birthday.
Thank you.
That glamorous cowgirl look. I mean, if you were at the Toronto International Film Festival, you would have been mobbed. People would assume you're some A-list celebrity. You just look so good. Secondly, I don't know if this is something that'll attract people or repel them, but at the Calgary party, we had my original Menzoid fedora on a silent auction. Yep. I couldn't believe it. It went for $500. That's a used hat that I bought brand new at $140.
Gross.
But you know what, folks? At the Toronto party, we have number 2 fedora. I'm currently on number 3. You see, when I'm going to the field, thanks to the reprobates I go up against, they get scuffed up a lot. So my second fedora will be available for silent auction. And if you want me to autograph it, I'm more than happy to do so. So once again, if you want a unique piece of Rebel News memorabilia, that's the place to go. Wouldn't you say, Sheila?
Yes. Yep. And your hat went for basically as much as lunch with Ezra. And I'm just kind of stunned. Thanks for saying those nice things about me. That's me in my preferred natural element. Maybe not as dressed up as that, but I'm very Western in my real time, in my real life. And you know what? My other best friend, Tara, is going to be so pleased that she's in the promo. So there are 3 of us who sort of run around all summer together, and that's Lise, my friend Tara, and then me. And we go to rodeos and do our own little feral mom thing. And she's going to be so excited to know that she's in our promo.
Oh, that's
she's
great.
Going to be thrilled. She's going to be thrilled. Okay,
Speaking of rodeo, Sheila, did I ever tell you I rode a bull at the 1985 Smoky Lake?
Multiple. Smoky
and I'm going to
Lake.
just say this. When I rode the bull, it was kind of like the goalies of yore. They didn't wear goalie masks, much less cages.
Flak jackets too.
Yeah, flak jacket. I just saw a rodeo thing on the weekend. Flak jacket, helmet, cage. Come on. What happened to old school cowboys?
What do you mean? They're on a bull, David. Like, their knees are blown, their wrists are pulled apart. Like, you know, at least let's make sure their head and chest are functional. It's a very dangerous
Sheila,
thing.
You're preaching to the converted, because right after, 1 second after my bull ride, I was having an ambulance ride.
Yes.
So I got broken up too. But anyways, I wish I had all that gear back then, I guess. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Smoky Lake Rodeo and Pumpkin Festival. It's right away, by the way. It's like right on the calendar right now where the world's largest pumpkin is always sort of grown at the Smoky Lake Pumpkin Festival. Anyways, we got a message from our friends at the Wellness Company. Does your immune system feel compromised ever since COVID? A new study published in the Journal of Clinical Laboratory Analysis suggests you may not be in the clear even if you feel fine. Researchers analyzed blood from people who had recovered from COVID and found something concerning. Their platelets, which are essential for healthy blood clotting, were not functioning properly even months after recovery. Other studies found lingering spike proteins in the bloodstream and organs causing immune system dysfunction and even mitochondrial damage, whether from the virus or mRNA shots. This is why Dr. Peter McCullough developed Ultimate Spike Detox. This doctor-formulated blend includes nattokinase to help break down spike protein bromelain, to support immune health, and turmeric with black pepper to reduce inflammation and repair cells. Take back control of your health today and head to twc.health/rebel and use code REBEL to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/rebel. Use code REBEL to get 10% off. It's time to own your own health. All right.
And with that, Sheila, why don't we throw the video? I'm going to preface it by this little tease. Pierre Poilievre, come on, let's be honest. He stole the ultimate line of Donald Trump going back to last year's presidential debate, which was also the exit stage right event for Joe Biden. I won't say anything more. What's that?
You might have been right the first time around. Anyway.
Anyways, let's see Pierre Poilievre channeling that line to devastating effect, I should think.
Our election and our policy was first and foremost, it was fight the tariffs, have a reaction. We had one of the strongest reactions. Protect our workers. So there were many ways we were doing that, but one of the things is we were taking all of the tariff revenue, putting it back into workers, helping workers retain their jobs, but also retrain, protect our communities against crime. But the core, the core message was build. And it was to build and build in a positive way. You need a positive agenda, and it matters how we build. And I'll just leave you with a couple of core messages that ground our approach in the election, but very much in governing. First and foremost, we can give ourselves more than any foreign government can take away. So our ability to have one Canadian economy, we have a bunch of internal trade barriers, we're removing all of those. Our ability to build for the future new trade corridors, clean energy, artificial intelligence, diversify with partners, all of that is much greater than what could be taken away, even in the worst tariff scenario. So you have a positive element to that. The second thing that we emphasize is how we build. So we build as a nation. We build first and foremost thinking about workers. So the message to Canadians has been, we are going to create not hundreds of thousands of jobs, but hundreds of thousands of careers in the skilled trades and other skilled areas, and setting up in parallel with major projects and investments, apprenticeships, skilled training, so that Canadians are ready to take advantage of that. Last point, we have historic issues that are current issues in terms of reconciliation with Indigenous Canadians, Indigenous peoples, and the nature of the major investments we're doing is that there will always be Indigenous participation in the equity, in the ownership, in the building. So it's a progressive element, thinking back into workers and being inclusive with all groups in society, with a core positive message on build. People want and deserve that positive agenda, so it's not engaging on the turf of the more negative agenda, but focusing on the positive.
Who taught him to do that with his hands?
And did he just call that female moderator a turf?
No, I have no idea what he said. Like, I fell asleep a minute and a half into that. Like, what did he say there? That, like, Poilievre is right. That was gibberish. That was like Kamala Harris style run-on sentence gibberish, where you're like, oh my goodness, I just lost 360 seconds of my life, and I have nothing to show for it.
And here is, and I beg your pardon, folks. I thought we had Pierre Poilievre saying this on video. It's actually an X posting. And if you want to read it, Sheila, please be my guest.
Yeah, he says, don't worry if you have no idea what Carney said there. Neither does he. He just set a new record for most gibberish in 3 minutes or less. I don't know. Kamala Harris is still alive. Global elites like Carney use big fake buzzwords to sound sophisticated and obscure, that they are ripping off working people to enrich themselves. As Orwell wrote, a mass of Latin words falls upon the facts like soft snow, blurring the outlines and covering up all the details.
Oh, now that I understand, but I listened to Carney going on, and there's that famous soundbite out there. It's Kirk Douglas, I guess, in his dying days, and he's saying, "What are you saying?" Sheila, I don't mean to brag, but my mother tongue is English. I've had a good run in the journalism business. I have a degree in journalism. I think one of the things, it might be the only thing I'm competent in, is English and communicating in English. And I'm not saying this is to be funny or mean. I have no idea what the hell the Prime Minister said there. Nothing. It was just, as Pierre Poilievre called it, a new record for most gibberish in 3 minutes. And you know what? Those 3 minutes felt like 30 minutes listening to that diatribe.
And he managed to shoehorn all the progressive nonsense, like we're going to build, but we're going to build positive. What does that even mean? How are you supposed to positively erect a structural wall? You just put it up, right? I'm happy that everybody's happy about work, but please just build the houses, right? Which I don't think is the government's job, by the way. Don't do that, government. Just get out of the way and let private companies do it, not Brookfield pods for all the peoples. But then he shoehorns in reconciliation, but I still don't know what he was talking about. What does putting us all in Brookfield pods have to do with reconciliation? I don't know. Neither does he.
Oh, Sheila, have a heart, will you? I mean, if you're ever in Toronto, I'll take you to the corner of Bayview and Cummer in North Toronto, and you can see a new seniors residence being built by Olivia Chow. Did I mention their shipping containers?
Yeah.
We're down to this. We're in a first world. We're putting our seniors into shipping containers.
Did you see, by the way, I forget what it was. I think it was, Brian Pasifio. He broke the story, and I had heard rumblings, but I'm not there, so I can't go. And I think you were busy. Carney had a housing announcement in Toronto, and it was in front of this majestic shipping container community, your 15-minute city shipping container house. And I think that's living in a shipping container. If you want to do that, that's cool. I don't want that to be the only option on the table for you, and I don't want the government to do it for you. If you want to live in a tiny house, knock yourself out, but not out of necessity, because the government won't stop with their green regulations and out of control immigration. So then Brian went back a week later, and he was like, it was all just like a Potemkin village. It was all just taken apart. You should go check it out.
Do you know what, Sheila? I was so sad that I was otherwise occupied. Also, going back more than a year ago, I had a great friend of Rebel News tip us off, and I couldn't make it. But it was Premier Ford doing some kind of EV announcement involving an EV truck. And he said, Dave, they're going to drive the EV truck right up to Ford, right to this presser, and everyone's going to clap. What people don't know is that it doesn't have enough juice to get there from the factory, so they're going to flatbed it to a gas station and then drive it the remaining 5 kilometers. And hopefully it has 5 more clicks worth of juice to get back to the gas station. We are being bamboozled right in front of our eyes.
We've got just one more clip. I see it just came in. I think first initially shared by Jasmine Lane, independent journalist, commentator. Polyev to Mark Carney, telling him all the things he needs to do or that Carney should stop doing. So let's watch that.
And people can enjoy for 3 or 4 more days before it spoils. And of course, get rid of the inflation tax. We're calling for Mark Carney to reverse his new spending increases, cap spending, cut bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid. We can't give money abroad when we're not feeding our own people at home. Charity starts at home. Cut foreign aid. Put the money into our country. Instead, let's cut back on the handouts to phony asylum claimants. Stop paying for hotels for fake refugees.
$670 million.
Get rid of the corporate welfare handouts to Mark Carney's insiders and friends. Let's bring down the deficit so that we don't have to print money anymore. Get rid of the inflation tax so that people's purchasing power lasts longer. These are positive, and people can enjoy.
Here's the problem, Sheila. Based on our coverage of the Pierre Poilievre campaign, and yes, as I say, campaigns do matter. And you know what? I think I gave the Pierre Poilievre campaign 5 stars, 5 out of 5. He knocked it out of the ballpark at his events, at his pressers. The problem is, the Mark Carney Liberals stole virtually every plank of the Pierre Poilievre Conservatives. Well, of course, nothing to do with guns. They're not that, far gone. But so I'm of mixed emotions, Sheila, and I don't know what the solution is. When Pierre Poilievre says something that clearly will get popular support, well, the Liberals, they have their pollsters. They know that too. So they'll likely steal it or elements of it and, claim it for themselves, because that's what they did in the last election.
Well, I know, and it sucks because the Liberals are just opportunistic scavengers, obviously, without an independent thought in their head, and their only ideology is power and doing that which will help them hang on to power. But at the same time, these are good. If they do steal good ideas for Canada, I think Canadians are better off. I just don't like the bad guys being rewarded for getting us into this mess in 10 years of mismanagement and corruption. Let's look and see what else is on the board. How bad are wait times in Canada? Study from our friends at 2nd Street say millions still waiting on healthcare services. It says the report from 2nd Street shows approximately 3.7 million Canadians. 4 million Canadians, 1 in 10. 1 in 10 are waiting for surgery, diagnostic scans, or a specialist appointment, and suggests those numbers are closer to nearly 6 million due to incomplete provincial numbers. If you're not on a wait list yourself, you probably know someone who's on a wait list. I think Canadians are getting sick and tired of having a system that's not working out for them and not getting the care they need while paying thousands of dollars for it out of their taxes, said Dom Lusick, Director of Communications for 2nd Street. And what's the government's? Have you discovered MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying? According to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, more scheduled procedures are being performed to meet the growing demand. Whatever. In 2024, there are 26% more hip replacements. That's great, but people are also aging, so I'm not sure that's taking a bite out of the apple. 21% more knee replacements, 11% more cataract surgeries, 7% more cancer surgeries, that seems low, and 16% more MRI and CT scans completed across Canada compared to 2019. Okay, but we're also dealing with an aging population and a growing population. So I should hope you're doing more hip replacements. Canadians are aging, and then we also have a population explosion of people from not the most healthcare intensive places of the world. So they come to Canada and they start getting their health care, which is, I guess, fine, except the rest of us need it too.
And Sheila, we've been talking about this for decades, as long as I can remember. And here are the only 2 solutions after studying this very intently, and that is for Canadian families. You want quick health care. You don't want to die in a waiting list. Buy lottery tickets. Get Lotto 649 FU money and fly to a U.S. clinic. You get it done the same day. If that's not possible, for your children, this is the deal. Get them on a good workout and diet regimen. Get professional coaching. Make it so they have a chance of becoming a professional basketball or baseball or hockey player. Because when they get injured, you think a member of the Toronto Blue Jays or Raptors or Leafs are on some waiting list? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? No, they go right to the top of the line. Those are my only two solutions, Sheila, other than, and this is two-third rail for any party in Canada, including the Conservatives, unfortunately, two-tier healthcare. I think the best healthcare systems in the world, I've done a lot of studying on this, are in France and Germany. You have the private system and the public system. And don't listen to the doomsayers, the Cassandra saying, oh, the public system becomes a ghetto. It does not. And basically it's win-win. If David Menzies and Sheila Gunn Reid are in the same line, and I have money to get out of the public system and go to the private system, bang, I'm gone. Sheila moves up one space. Win-win, whether you've got the money or not. But this is a political third rail issue, Sheila. It cannot even be discussed. And that's a shame, because this system is bad and it's getting worse.
Right. And let's realize just how bad it is. We can't talk about a second private parallel system. Yep. That's unacceptable in Canada. But we can talk about killing our grandparents or people who have irremediable suffering because they can't get the health care they need. Talking about euthanizing them is more acceptable, more palatable in this socialist hellscape of a country than talking about, hey, we've tried this. It's obviously not working. Should we innovate? That is unacceptable in Canada, and I find that despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And this, I think even the numbers, this doesn't even show how bad it is, because there are people with chronic health conditions who are not even going to bother to get the surgery that they need. They're just like, I'm just going to tough it out because it's just going to be years. So instead of waiting years to get the specialist and then years for the surgery, I'll just figure it out on my own, or I'll just tough it out because it's too much of a hassle. So there are people who have just decided, I'm not even going to do this. There are the people who've given up altogether that aren't reflected in these numbers.
That's an amazing point that you make, Sheila. And I've got a very important question for you. And I'm asking it because I legitimately don't know the answer. You've been excellent on the made file. If I picked up the phone today and said, you know what? It's time to say goodbye, cruel world. When can I come into the clinic and get offed? What is the waiting list for that, Sheila? Do you know? How fast is the turnaround?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
It can be even less. Like if you, let's say, like you claim you are in such irremediable suffering that living another day would be too much, that mandatory wait time is removed. You could say, like, look, I have two artificial hips and I can't do the things that I used to do. And it's 2 years to see a doctor for another hip replacement. So I just can't go on like this. If you can get a health practitioner, and that does not mean a doctor, that can be a nurse practitioner, a pharmacist, whatever, to sign off on it, you can do it, and your family doesn't even have to know. They can just be blindsided with it.
That is fascinating. And I know I usually pitch you via text, but I'm going to pitch you on the air right now, especially since I have a doctor's appointment. I have a doctor's appointment coming up next week. Maybe I should ask her, I want MAID, and we go through all the hoops and see how fast it happens. I know what might happen when it gets to the end of the road and I go, hey, listen, it was just a goof. It was just a test. And they're going, oh, no, you signed a paper.
Right. Get in the chair.
We got the injection. You ain't getting out of here. That'd be my only worry.
It's some of the stories I've heard are horrific. And it can be just chronic illnesses that are treated, like diabetes, and that are treated through exercise and diet, like cut the carbs, get on keto, go carnivore. And a lot of these, but we can't talk about that We have to make sure that everybody has their seed oils and stays inside. It's crazy. This healthcare system is an absolute nightmare, and we're not even allowed to discuss something different because of the powerful healthcare unions.
And you know what, Sheila, to your point of nutritious eating and exercise, both of which you do, I try to do it. My idea is psychology, which is to say, go onto TLC and watch shows like My 600-Pound Life, The 1,000-Pound Sisters. And if that doesn't scare you straight, I don't know what will. Every time I'm like, do I really want to get on the saddle, go for another 40K ride, and that comes on the TV? Oh, I'm in my spandex toot sweet, believe me.
I used to watch it on the treadmill. Yeah, like, it's so simple to just feel better.
Yep.
It just requires a little bit of discipline.
It does.
And actually, after you get over the first 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks to sort of break a habit or make a habit. And if you can just commit to the first 2 weeks, it'll be easier from there. You might not see results right away, but it'll just be easier to maintain the habit. And it's just like, don't eat garbage, avoid processed things. I can give you a little more advice from there, but whatever. Some of the things you thought were healthy that are sold as health food, they're garbage too. Like, you should look at a granola bar versus a Mars bar. Indistinguishable.
Yep.
And go outside. Get outside. Get some sun on your face. Avoid wearing sunglasses if you can, by the way, because that light in your eye sets your circadian rhythm. So not in the blaze of the day, but some sun on your face and your body. It's good for your internal clock. And just walk. Low impact stuff. Just go outside. Eat better and go outside. It's really that simple.
I agree with everything you said, except maybe the sunglasses, because my eye doctor has told me even on an overcast day, wear sunglasses. So I'll have to research that. But you know what, Sheila? You're right.
Don't always wear them.
After
I know.
that
I'm
2 or 3 weeks,
Yep.
I'll tell you when the results are going to start to pay off. I'll tell you when people get disciplined. Is that when you legitimately have to miss a workout, say it's work, you got to fly somewhere, and you feel guilty. Like you're not relieved. You're going, oh, good, I don't, but you feel the opposite. That's when you're in a rhythm. That's when you are working to results. So like Sheila said, like Dr. Sheila said, folks, just give it 2 or 3 weeks and then maybe you'll be hooked, hopefully.
2 weeks. Just make a plan, stick to it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Get outside, get some sun on your body, and avoid processed things. Like, try not to eat something that you didn't make or pick yourself. And I'm not saying like you have to have a garden, but eat the tomato, not the ketchup. You know what I mean? Like, do stuff like that. And you'll feel a lot better, I promise you. But we can't talk about that. Have you tried a statin? Anyways, let's get to the chats and then let's wrap up the show.
Yes, with an incredible cringe video.
Oh my God. Cringe recidivist. Repeat offender. Okay, Jay Peterson gives us $20, says free speech and freedom itself is under attack in Canada, most notably from Ottawa. Largely from Ottawa. David and Sheila, what are your thoughts? Alberta independence as the only way out? Well, we have a strong commitment to free speech here. The independent media is treated the exact same way as the state-funded media in Alberta. And state-funded, I mean by the federal state. We don't fund the media here in Alberta. We have access to our politicians in the same regard as regular mainstream media journalists. And when the cabal of journalists got together and voted us witches that couldn't join the legislature press gallery, the Speaker of the House said, that's fine, I'll accredit you independently to come into the legislature on your own. You don't need permission from your political enemies and your competitors in media to do your jobs here. That's crazy. So we're fine here, but as you know, they are reigniting the Online Harms Act. Yep. And I think it's going to be worse than ever because Carney knows the important role that the independent media played in the last election. Look what we did to the Debates Commission. I'll be surprised if the Debates Commission still exists.
Me too.
By the time the next election rolls around. By the way, stay tuned. I've got some documents from the CBC that are just from the Debates Commission night and proving them liars a little bit.
I can't wait. And
some of the things they said on air were completely untrue. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better, because, well, it's just like 2016 in the United States, when everyone was like, how the heck did Trump get elected? That's because he had free speech and he went right to the people. He didn't rely on the mainstream media to talk to them. So then it started the social media purge, the crackdown, the great demonetization on YouTube, the banning of conservative voices, which Google just admitted to, by the way. They should be trust busted for that. That they were under pressure from the Biden administration to crack down. And so, like Dan Bongino is now at the FBI. So, and he was censored by Google. So good luck to you, Alphabet. Good luck to you.
Can't wait.
But, I don't think it's going to get any better in Canada. I think it's going to get worse because they know how effective we are. The better they are, the worse they get.
You're 100% right. And I want to say this to Jay Peters. By the way, Jay isn't for Jordan, is it? Because there's a poster boy for censorship and cancel culture. But I'll tell you this. In late 2023, our beloved big boss man, Ezra Levant, on the cusp of 2024, said 2024 is going to be the year of censorship. And lo and behold, was I talking to Ezra Levant or the amazing Kreskin? Because that's what happened. Starting in, if you can believe it, the first week of January, folks, when I was falsely arrested and assaulted by a Mountie for having the temerity to ask Chrystia Freeland an impolite question. And little did I know that was the start of 5 arrests in calendar year 2024, identical arrests for the same thing, practicing journalism in a public place. I wasn't carrying a weapon, I wasn't making threats, just asking the questions the mainstream media has been paid off not to ask is a crime in Canada. And Sheila, 2024, the year of censorship, it carried right into 2025. And with the Online Harms Act getting ramped up again, I'm sorry, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And by coincidence, I was on the phone today with a Canadian journalist who now lives in the free state of Florida. And I'll be honest with you, folks, I was inquiring, what are house prices like in Tampa Bay? What does health insurance cost? I'm getting into the camp of so many other Canadians, Sheila, that are saying, time to plan the exit strategy, whether it's the U.S., Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, you name it. All those countries I mentioned, as far as I can tell, there are more freedoms than in the Dominion of Canada under these federal Liberals.
For sure. For sure. And if the laws that the Liberals were proposing right now were coming from Russia, or if they were coming from China, these guys would lose their marbles. You would hear Melanie Joly freaking out. If Donald Trump proposed to do to the internet what the Liberals are promising to do, they would be having an absolute conniption. But they're doing it. And so it's in the name of public safety. So many of the greatest ills of society always have been done in the name of public safety.
Sheila, I hate how the word safety has been perverted by the left. Oh, for safety reasons, we have to do this. For safety reasons, we have to censor you. When I think of safety, I think, a downed hydro wire, a live wire, that's a safety issue.
Car seats.
Yeah. If the lifeguards spot a great white shark near the beach and they close it, that's a valid safety issue. Impolite, insensitive words, that's not a safety issue.
Right. We've got a couple more chats too from Silverfeet, actually. LOL, the Trans Am training. They've been trying to get me to complete it for years, and I work in the DEI team. Menzoid, you should see the training for execs in FPS. Every day I will drop some nuggets.
Oh, please. Yeah, and by the way, for anyone that wants to tip us off, and thank you for that donation, tips@rebelnews.com. We try to read as many as we can catch. And, that's a great line. I had my first car back in the day was a Camaro. The Pontiac equivalent was the Trans Am. And I love the idea of getting a vintage muscle car. Sheila, Lady Menzoid won't let me, alas, but that's another story. But now the word trans has been so debased. I don't think I can get a Trans Am. I don't think I can, as much as I'd love to get the Smokey and the Bandit, Pontiac.
Oh, I
know. Because it's got the word trans in it. That's triggering me. So, good point.
Get Firebird. Get Firebird. You'll be
Firebird.
Fine. Yeah. Silverfeet gives us $5, and then this is the nugget. Day 1, Transcare Plus, Kingston, Ontario. Project name 2STGD. Health and Wellness Capacity Building, Knowledge Enhancement and Advocacy Planning Project. None of those words make any sense to me. I know what they mean independently, but when you put them all together, I'm like, that's just Carney gobbledygook. 2 SLGBTQI plus Community Capacity Fund amount $450,000. One of the biggest scams perpetrated on the taxpayer has been something called the Community Capacity Fund, because then they just put whatever social justice nonsense in front of the Community Capacity Fund, and I don't know what capacity they're building, what does it do. I just feel like there are zero deliverables once you say capacity fund.
And Sheila, just to go off on a tangerine here, can we just come up with one catch-all word for all of this nonsense, LGBT, RBC, LCBO, BMI, I even know members, the rational people in that community who say this, can't we just call it the queer community? And avoid...
I've seen the LGB.
Yeah.
There's the LGB.
Without the T. I'm with that.
So there are a lot of them. Okay, let's do the daily cringe.
Yeah.
If you guessed when I said that it was a recidivist, that it was Olivia Chow, you would be right. She was at some sort of festival embarrassing Toronto over the weekend. What is it?
It was
Olivia
the Latin
Chow.
Festival.
The Latin Fall Festival.
Yeah, and for some reason, Sheila, the Toronto Police Service sent their transgender police cruiser for that. Did they think it was the Gay Pride Parade, or do they think that the majority of Latinos and Latinas in Toronto are trans?
No.
It's so confusing.
Because they go by Latinx now.
Latinx, yeah.
I don't know. Matt Walsh always calls it Latinx. I'm like, yeah, Latinx. And, Latinos are like, no, don't say that.
I've not met one person from that community that calls themselves that. This is another far left fantasy.
It's colonization. You're literally changing their language. Like, I'm not one to say, we shouldn't, I'm not anti-colonization, but they sure are. They're always like, evil colonizers. And it's like, you're literally changing their gendered language to fit your social justice nonsense. Maybe you're doing that which you say everybody else is doing. Anyways, let's watch.
Great point. Oh, and by the way, the first time I ever saw that word, Sheila, and I'm not making a joke here, I thought it was another X-Men spin-off comic. I thought this was either a group of mutants in Spain or Mexico. Latinx, our newest offshoot.
Group of mutants. Anyway, let's watch Olivia Chow bring great shame upon Toronto the good. I'm going to do something. I just know it. Let's just be glad that this is the Latino festival and she's got clothes on. Sorry. Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
I've had taco party where I have 10 different ingredients, and then so I have the salsa, the guacamole, and the different vegetable, different salads, and then different cheese, and then you have the chicken, and then you have the shrimp.
Look at the
and then
guitar
you have
player.
The beef, you have soft taco, and then corn taco, and this kind of taco, so I love having taco parties.
She loves
Sheila,
having a taco party.
How does she get away with it? And what I'm saying, let's reverse the roles. Let's say the Latinos there were saying, we're so happy to be in Olivia Chow's Toronto. And you know what? We love egg foo young and chopsticks
Ginger
and
beef.
egg rolls. I mean,
ginger beef. Like, it's just because it's like that's all she knows. By the way, every time I see Sankofa Square, I read it as sank of a square.
Yeah.
But
no one's calling it that, Sheila. It's still Young Dundas Square, like Rogers Centre is still the Sky Dome, and TMU is still Ryerson.
I just don't know how she gets, like you, I don't know how she gets away with it. I think it's maybe her heavy Chinese accent, where we're like, okay, I guess this is it. Look at her. No.
Welcome to Cosplay Toronto.
Honest, every time I think Jyoti Gondik is an embarrassment in Calgary, here comes Olivia Chow to just tell everybody that the only thing she knows about Latin culture is tacos.
This is Toronto's first cosplay mayor, Sheila.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
At least she's all covered up. Because remember Caravana last year? She was dressed for the occasion, I suppose. If you were 25 years old attending said occasion. But she was, I saw a lot of her groin. Let's just say that. Like, at least she's got her clothes on for this one.
There's a time and place for everything, which is to say, you don't want grandma showing up to a party dressed as Britney Spears, right? And
I had all kinds of taco jokes that I'm just going to keep to myself.
Well, you got mad at me in the meeting for making one, so I'm not going to say it either.
I did, yeah. So, anyway, good gracious. What cryptid is this? Honestly, that's like, she looks like a biblically accurate angel, where it's like just like googly eyes and feathers everywhere and just like a Picasso painting.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing? You have somebody passing by, a tourist, going, "Oh, look at that, a geriatric Carabana dancer." Oh no, that's the mayor, actually.
That's the mayor of Canada's largest city, twice the size of Alberta. She's running the show. Like, if
oh boy,
terrifying. Why Alberta separation? I'm just going to show that photo of Olivia Chow. Why don't you guys want to be in Canada anymore? Well, I don't know. Have you seen Olivia Chow? Because we don't want to be in a thing with her at all.
You know what? But what is worse, and I know I'm bringing up the proverbial photo finish, that or the Trudeau's in Indian cosplay dress. Remember that?
Yeah, you know what? I guess she doesn't get me a tariff slapped on canolas and pulses every time she dresses up stupid. Trudeau did. I think that's it. I think we got up to all the chats. Let's wrap the show. I see my computer screen screaming at me with unresponded to messages.
Absolutely. Well, Sheila, it was a pleasure as always. Hey, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. A special thank you to everybody who gave those generous cash donations. That's how we keep the lights on. We're not taking your tax dollars out of your bank account on an involuntary basis like the mainstream media does. Tomorrow, Sheila will be here with the lovely Lise, and I mean that. Lise is so lovely. Oh, I got to see her in Calgary. She is the best. I'll be back, I believe, with the Rebel News live stream panel discussion on Friday. In between Tuesday and Friday, we'll have Rebel personalities to be named later hosting this show. So in the meantime, as always, stay safe and stay sane.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.